Good evening. Paul Flowers here. Welcome to Wednesday's Weekly Words of Wisdom, where we've been going over Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich on my take, which is Act and Grow Rich, where we look at different aspects of the writing in order to take them, put them into our daily lives, and make them part of what we do in order to accomplish our goals, dreams, and desires. This week is the 12th step towards riches. Yes, 12 out of 13. There's one more after this, so again, you really want to pay attention, and you're going to go back after this one especially and revisit a few of them. This week, the 12th step towards riches is on the brain. Yes, the brain. Again, that lovely piece of gray matter between your ears, we talk about it, but how much do we really know about it? Well, back in 1937, again, the information's a little dated, but it does highlight quite a few important points regarding how it functions in terms of achieving our desires, goals, and dreams. So they've learned that the brain acts as both a sending and a receiving station. Right? Think of it like an antenna or a magnet. Part of it sends stuff out, part of it brings stuff in. Part of it sends stuff out, part of it brings stuff in. So it's both this sending and receiving station that works all the time. All the time. So that's the thing about it. It's like having an antenna that never shuts off. Like having a cell phone that's always on, because you're always getting the messages that are moving to and through your brain. So it's amazingly important that you consider what's coming into it, and more importantly, what you're putting out of it. Because there's a correlation between what you put out of it and what you actually get back, given that it does have that magnetic effect in drawing things towards you, which I talked about a moment ago, how it receives just as much as it sends. So the brain, again, broadcasts and receives. Think of it as an antenna and a magnet, and you pick up the vibes of people you're around. And yeah, I said it, vibes, and I want to be very specific with the words, vibes being short for vibrations. Think about it. All the times that you would be around somebody and you've got a good feeling for these people over here, hey, I feel you. Or you have a bad feeling about people over here, nah, I don't feel you. Right? Those are literal vibrations that are moving through the air that are either in alignment with or comfortable with a group on one side, where it may not be comfortable with or in alignment with a group on the other side. So when you're saying you feel somebody, you're thinking of it just from a conscious perspective, where you may be judging them on the outfit that they're wearing, or their skin tone, or their eye colors, or whether they have straight and perfect teeth. Right? You're thinking about these superficial things. Oftentimes, not often enough though, do we take the time to actually judge someone by the content of their character, right? You heard that before, which means you're picking up what's on the inside of them. For instance, occasionally you'll see me wearing a hat, right? Nice hat, says Beast on it. It's a little unique, but I feel that way, kind of like G Herbo. It's an artist who has an album called Humble Beast, right? He has the word beast across his mouth on tape. And the sign, or what it looks like when you see a person wearing a hat like this, you may not think you feel them, but oftentimes that'll be based off of, again, your superficial interpretation of who and what this person is. So then you're putting out these vibes that may be entirely negative in terms of what you review or think this person may be in or up to or what have you, when in fact, if you took the time to see what was actually under the hat, you find out that it's a person that you absolutely would enjoy being around, talking to, friends with, vacation buddies, the whole nine. So that goes to show you can't necessarily judge a book by its cover. But more importantly, it often goes to show that these things that we think about, we oftentimes bring about, meaning the negative actions that come about to us, it's because we're often putting out the negative energy. It's often been said and researched actually that dogs can smell fear. Well, it's absolutely right. It's not necessarily that they smell fear, though they do through the chemoreceptors in their nose and brain and all that, but they have brains too, so they can actually also sense fear. Think about it. A brain is a brain is a brain. It picks up and sends movements of the things that we can't see all the time, these vibrations. It's moving them all the time. So whether you know it or not, you're sending these fear thoughts out there if you're afraid of dogs, right? If you're afraid of spiders, the whole nine. So when you, again, send these vibrations out, don't be surprised when you get them back, right? So hopefully, again, with just a few moments of talking about this, you've been able to think about how you think about the people you see prior to actually figuring out what's up under the hat. So again, with this whole antenna, magnet, how does it work? What part does what? Right? It's really broken up into two parts. You've got the creative imagination, which we actually talked about in the 5th step towards riches a few videos ago. That's, again, the imagination acts as the receiving station. So that's that magnetic part that's like, well, I'm thinking about these things that are in my subconscious, and boom, here goes that idea. Oftentimes it comes through the ether. Well, what's the ether? All this space around you, right? It comes right in through the ether, boom, lands in your head because you were ready for that idea. You had a desire for that idea, and here it is, that idea is there, right? Some part of your creative imagination was sparked, and whereby it received information. So when it stepped up, it actually receives even more. Think about when you're not necessarily hyped up, right? So this isn't to say go out and down a bunch of Starbucks and get like this, but when a person's hopped up on caffeine, just how much information they can actually get. Actually, scientifically speaking, it's been researched that people that actually receive caffeine are more receptive to certain ideas, thereby able to better receive information, in other words, vibrations that are traveling from one mind to another. So again, when your boss says, hey, have this cup of coffee before the morning meeting, they really just want you to take in all the ideas that they're about to spew across to you, right? No pun intended. And now that goes with both positive and negative though. So if you're really hopped up and energetic and positive, your brain's going to receive that. When you're really hopped up and energetic and negative, your brain's going to receive that. Think about it on both sides. Wherever you've gotten up and it's been a great day, things just seem to go well and well and well. So that positive energy just tends to build and build and build, kind of like the snowball effect we talked about before. On the other side, there's a negative day when, unfortunately, it starts off with you stubbing your toe. And then you get a bad phone call or a text message or an email, something that ticks you off. And all of a sudden it spirals downward and the day gets worse and worse and worse as it goes on. Well, this is you either stepping yourself up or alternatively stepping yourself down with either a positive or a negative start to your day. That's actually getting the brain moving in a certain way. So you want to be careful about that. Excuse me. There's an exceedingly high rate of reception or movement in the brain when certain environments are met, right? Certain things are going on around you. So think about when you have a funeral, for instance. Millions of people out there crying about Michael Jackson, and people that didn't even really want to cry about Michael Jackson after watching all this sad energy around them cried about Michael Jackson, right? So this is that sad environment that's acting upon you, all this energy at this wavelength, right? It's hitting your brain and you're like, wait a second, cry, 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 I don't know why. And now all of a sudden my eyes are crying. That's on the sad side. Think about it on the happy side. If you're not necessarily in the best environment, get around some people who are. It's contagious. You find yourself in a little glum state. You ever watch a comedy show? All the people in the audience, now I know I'm talking about digital laughs, right? But get the thought process here. You're around digitally people who are laughing, enjoying themselves, and having a good time. So even when you're in a slum state, ho-hum, find yourself in a comedic environment, you tend to get up a little cheery, right? You tend to laugh a little bit more. Do it with your friends just the same. Find a puppy or some music, something that'll lift your energy, lift your spirits, in essence, lifting your vibration, because that's exactly what it's doing. You ever been around an office full of dull people? Be the live one, right? Trust me, dull office environments are no fun. Now, of course, there's one type of vibration that tops the list. Yes, you guessed it. It's sex, right? Sex, again, in other words, the desire for sex, not necessarily the act of sex, which we talked about in sexual transmutation back in the 10th step towards riches. That drive and desire for sex, again, Napoleon Hill was the author typically referring to men in this instance, where they had the strong desire and drive for a significant woman in their life, and then they go on to accomplish great and wonderful things. Many of the great men, if not all, in history have had great women beside them where they had that drive and moved toward them, but not necessarily towards them physically, but towards them in terms of goal accomplishment and achievement, where they've actually then been able to accomplish more than what they have before. So sex tops the list in terms of having that specific energy and turning it or transmuting it into some sort of form of action or activity whereby you'll accomplish your desires as long as you continue to work whatever that plan is that you have in place. Now, sex is an ascending type of vibration, so people have been around somebody that you've said, well, this person just seems highly sexual, right? That's actually their energies that you're picking up. So again, consider it, maybe raise your level, have some desire for something, someone, and then go out and do something great. Now with the mind itself, the brain itself, excuse me, it's again a mysterious thing that there's a lot of information out there about it. We're not going to go into all that tonight because I'm neither a neuroscientist, a neurophysicist, or neurologist, or any of that. But there are people that are much, much more in-depth and knowledgeable about the brain. If you want to find out more about this topic, please research it, especially from both the physiological sense, meaning the touchy-feely part of it, and also the mental sense, like the psychological sense of how it works, because you'll be surprised what drives some of the things that you do and how different pieces of your brain light up on the inside when it actually when you have certain stimulants applied to it. Really cool topic. But there's billions and billions and billions of nerve cells and connected type of things going on inside the brain all the time. You got your neurons, your axons, your dendrites. Yes, I was a science nerd, right? And essentially you got a bunch of little things like this, and then zap, a little piece goes across. A little information gets put from one piece of the brain to the other. As you think about a thing, as you start feeling stronger about a thing, that connection gets built, and all of a sudden that connection then becomes a bridge, and you're used to thinking or being this way. That's how your subconscious mind acts, and that's a part of the brain that you have to activate through autosuggestion. Again, all these things are interrelated. All these topics that I'm touching on, just kind of pinpointing now, are things that were discussed in different areas throughout, the last 10, 12 weeks or so that we've been having these weekly sessions. So you definitely want to go back and take a listen or watch at the subconscious mind, at the imagination video, at the autosuggestion video, at the faith video, and also the mastermind. So now, when you have one brain that has one set of ideas, and another brain that has a similar set of ideas, and a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth and a seventh brain that all have a similar idea and goals in terms of where they want to go, and they're all focused on the same thing, there's essentially no stopping them. And that's any group of people, whether they want the best for the world or they want the worst. You get them together, they have their minds together, and their energy then gets amplified. Take that same idea and apply it to your life. Again, go back and take a listen to the 9th video, which was about the mastermind principle. Connect all these brains together, and now it's multiplying the minds of what one idea thought was great. Now 50 do. Now 100 do. Now 1,000 do. And that all has to deal with literally the physical motions, or actually their intangible actions of the brain. People think that it's kind of strange, but when it comes to the brain or the mind and how you think, you got a couple of levels. I'll just touch on them real quick and we're going to get out of here. There's a conscious mind. There's the things that you think about on the regular. There's the unconscious mind. Those are the actions that have just become second nature, like you're walking up the stairs and you open the door before you start walking up the stairs. And then there's a subconscious mind, which kind of drives the actual actions that you use when, let's say, you're reaching out for that doorknob, right? You know that you need to get through it, so why are you reaching out? Well, it's already been pre-programmed in you that you turn that knob before you get through the door. You're using essentially subconscious programming to achieve a desired result. Now that's like on this instantaneous right now type of thing, but think about if you were to use that same idea of how to turn it into a muscle memory of sorts. When you program the subconscious mind through autosuggestion, it becomes second nature to take certain actions to then move yourself further in the direction of your goals and dreams. So again, it's 12 step towards riches. It's the brain. It's a lot to talk about, right? But we're not going to take that much time. Just a recap of where we've been thus far and essentially where we're going, right? The next week is the last week. So you guys just definitely want to stay tuned for one more week of this. Then we're going to take some suggestions for some other books. I've already got a few that have come in, so I'm looking for a few other suggestions on books that people like, primarily in the personal development range. Please, no 50 Shades of Grey requests. And we want to break these books down and really just talk about them, open up dialogue, and see if we can have a different perspective about it. So we started off with desire. Then we found out how to achieve said desire through having faith, build faith through autosuggestion, using your specialized knowledge and imagination putting it together in an organized plan, making a decision, persisting through it, putting together a mastermind of people with like minds, then using the idea of sexual transmutation, that energy that you just want to expel physically into a person, you put it out into the world and see what comes up. Then the subconscious mind was last week, and now we're discussing the brain. Again, next week is a mystery. I want to let you guys kind of build some suspense until we get there, but look forward to it. So take a moment, go back, review some of these topics. They're absolutely important, especially with understanding now that the brain is behind them all, right? It's a real central piece to our lives, and the more you understand it, the more life will make sense to you, both from a physical, emotional, spiritual, social, psychological, all these different standpoints. It'll make more sense to you when you understand the thing that's making sense for you. Get it? Again, it's been an absolute pleasure. We're going to shut it down a little bit early tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in to Wednesday's Weekly Words of Wisdom. Paul Flowers here with Act and Grow Rich. Thanks for viewing. Bye for now.